Hi, welcome back. One of the questions that you're going to need to answer on the um, thought question section is how to interpret the slope coefficient and the intercept coefficient of a market model. So I just want to, if you have a question and you don't know what the answer is, the best start is just to kind of type your question into Google and see what kind of information comes up. Um, but the intercept here is considered what we call the alpha in finance, and it's the abnormal or excess return of a stock. If the stock is correctly priced, it should be basically zero or statistically insignificant, which is what we're getting here. If it's significant and positive, it means you're getting extra return above and beyond what the market's giving you. So it's something that people want to buy. And if it's got a negative and significant intercept, it means it's got a lower than expected market return and something that you want to sell. And by sell, we mean short. You can look up what short means. And then the beta, which is in this case the coefficient or the slope, represents the sensitivity to market conditions. And I mentioned before in the previous video, it's an estimate of systematic risk. Anyway, I just wanted to make that nice and clear. So we're going to go on and work with some of the day results. And what we're going to do here is actually work on validating or testing the predictions of our model. So we have a model, linear regression model, called a market model in this case. Slightly different than CAPM because we don't use the risk-free rate, but the market model that we're doing is applied a lot more in areas of finance, and the regression technique that we're using is applied everywhere in industry. Anyway, so what I'm going to start with is showing you a couple of functions and a couple of different ways to do things just to, again, increase your skill set. So I introduced this in the last, in the bonds project, but I want you to hold down the shift key and click on SPI-D. So when both of these are highlighted, any change I do on one sheet is going to occur on the other sheet. And if you have systematic changes against multiple sheets, this is the most efficient way to do it. So let's start with a little header here. And that's going to show up on both tabs. So just to show you that that's going on. So the first function we're going to introduce is called the mid function. So this is a date, 2018-02-01, and it's actually a general. So Excel might look at that as either a text or as a number. So the function we're going to use is called mid, and we're going to go ahead and click on our date, and what we want to do is get the month. So we want to get this 01. So the next thing we need is the start number. That's the number of digits over. So we're going to start at 5, and then we want 2 digits. We'll go ahead and end that. And you see what we're ending up with is the 01. And then of course we could just double click on this to drag everything down. And as you go into the next month, you're picking it up. So the mid function allows you to grab subsections of a string, which means just basically text, or in some cases a number. I think actually if we change the format to a number, it's still going to work without any problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo to take that formatting change out. All right, the next thing, dates in Excel are kind of bizarre. The date functions, and the Excel system works on what's known as a date code. So what I'm going to do here is use a function called date, and we need the year, so that's going to be mid, and we'll pick our text string, and then we start at 1, and then we want 4 places, comma. Now we need the month. So again, it's mid. Pick the text string. We're going to start at 5, and we need 2. And then finally we need the day, so it's mid, and select the text string. And in this case, we're starting at 7, and we need 2. And so that's going to give us the actual date. In date format. Okay, and you may end up with what's known as a date code here, which is going to be a sequence, a serial number. It starts 0 is January 1st of 1900, I think, and we count forward in terms of days, and we go backwards, it's a negative number. So the next function that we're going to use is month, and then we'll just click on our date function. Oh, sorry. So we want the number, right? So equals month, and pick on our date. So in a lot of cases, we actually want a number rather than, this is actually text characters. So 0, 1, it's coming in as the character 0 and the character 1, not the number 0 and the number 1. So it's different, right? So I can't, if I take this and I multiply it by something, I may end up with an error. So again, what I'm trying to do here is just give you some different things, how to convert a date in this format into an actual date or date code. And then, you know, there's a month, there's a day, there's a year function. So if we wanted to, we could say equals year, and then just go ahead and pick on that guy, and we got the year associated with it. Anyway, so just wanted to give you a couple of functions associated with it. I'm going to drag this out a little bit so it fits. The next thing we need to do is we want to calculate the monthly return of the stock in our analysis year and the annual return of the stock. For that, we're going to use a function called product. The first thing we need to do is take this, and it is going to be equal to 1 plus whatever the return is. All right, we'll go ahead and open that one down. Now we want a function, or we want a setup here so that we know what month we're going to be in. So I'm going to go ahead and enter month, and then we want 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm just going to highlight these guys and drag down until I get to 12, and then I got the full year. And then we're going to do our return. And I want to note, make sure that you're in column L and column M, because this is going to end up being graded. So the next thing we're going to do is use our product function, and we're going to use it as a conditional expectation, or conditional if. And what we want to say is we want to do the product if the month is the same. So if we're in month 1, we want to calculate the return. If we're in month 2, we want to calculate the return. And the way we're doing this is going to be an array function. So remember, with array functions, you hit Control-Shift-Enter in order to get them to go. So let's just go ahead and type it in, and we'll see how it works. So we're going to do a product, and the product function multiplies. So it's going to be 1.03 times 1.002 times 0.99 times 1.002 times 0.97, etc., etc. And then if we subtract 1 from that, that's going to give us our actual return. So our product function is going to start with product, and then we need an if statement. And the logical test is going to be if, I'm going to click here, so this is the month, go all the way down, hit F4 to lock it in. So that's my product function. Those are my months, I'm sorry. And then we're going to say if this number is equal to, and then we're going to click on the month that we're interested in. And if that is in fact true, we'll go here and select our product, the numbers that we want to do our product function with. So we'll hit F4 to lock that in. That's going to go ahead and end the if, so parenthesis, and then we want to end the product function, parenthesis, and then we're going to subtract 1. Now I want you to do a Control-Shift-Enter to get the number down. So the return is 9.4%. And a lot of times in Excel, what you want to do is check your number. So in this case, we would just say equals product. And we're going to just physically select only the ones that are in the first month, and with a parenthesis, and then we can hit return. And you can see if we subtract 1 from it, we get the exact same number. So that's telling you that this if statement is working correctly. And a lot of times, as I said, you got in industry, there's data everywhere. So in your analysis, you need to do a conditional. A good example, males and females tend to react differently. For example, think about your car insurance. Females have to pay less money on their car insurance, and that's because when they do get in an accident, their accidents are less expensive. So you might want to do an average if. So average if they're female, average if they're male. So there's a lot of different functions that allow you to do conditional expectations. Average if, sum if, count if, or sum. And those are straightforward functions, meaning they're not array functions. And then if you do a function and then do an if statement inside of it like this, it makes it an array function, and you'll have to do the Control-Shift-Enter. So the last thing we'll do is just double click this guy to drag her down. This one at the end is going to be a little bit different because we really don't have any kind of if statement associated with it. So now I'm going to come in and take out the if statement. So we just need a straight product function, and we got one extra variable there, so I'll just hit return. So the overall return for Abbott for the year was actually 29%, which is pretty good return. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. When we come back, we're going to talk about creating formal tables and actually completing the analysis. And I do want you to go ahead and check. You'll notice that this has worked. Both my sheets are now completely done. I've only had to edit one. I don't have to do it twice. And to get off this, in other words, to go to a single sheet again, so that when I make a change, you'll just click on any different sheet. All right, thank you. Goodbye.